Hello students. So in this session we are going to start a new chapter. So we have already done with chapter 1 and chapter 2. So chapter 3 we just started off with research methodology. In that we discussed about quantitative and qualitative methods, and rest of the two topics we will cover after some time. Okay. So here we will be dealing with stratification and mobility in this session. So very important chapter, not only from your sociology optional point of view, but also from your GS point of view, because you see the topics which is going to be studied here. You will be studying about social mobility, social inequality, social stratification, exclusions, poverty, deprivation, hierarchy. All these are important from your GS perspective, especially GS economy, that area, and social issues. Apart from that, it is very, very important for your essay also. The reason is you will get very good perspective and you'll get very good knowledge about all these social aspects, and that could be readily used in your essays. Apart from that, in your interview also this is going to benefit you a lot, because after you studying sociology in general, and especially after this particular chapter, your perception towards a lot of things, especially of all these things, will change like anything, and you will be in a better position to put your point of view in a much better way in the interview board, in front of the interview board. Okay, so why I'm saying is because if you talk about this social inequalities and all, you will try to see a different version of social inequalities that you already know. Okay, so in some cases you will even try to justify inequalities. Okay, so like for example, you can see here functional theory. So functional theories, they are using a functionalist perspective, and they will always try to justify whatever is existing in society. If something is existing in society, it means it is necessarily fulfilling certain function, and society is maintaining it for the functioning of society. So if it is inequality existing, means inequality is providing certain functions to the society, and that's why inequality is understood as permanent, inequality is inevitable, and inequality is natural, and it is helping in the functioning of society. Okay, that's why it is existing in society. And in all non-forms of society, if you take, inequality is there. One or the other forms of inequality is there. And an egalitarian society is never ever possible. When we talk about Marxian understandings, Marx talk about communism, which is a stateless, classless, and egalitarian society. But that's actually a utopian concept which will never come into practice. We will see all those things. The so-called Chinese or the socialist or communist societies, they are not the real communist or socialist society which Marx envisioned. These are different versions or different brands of socialism and communism, not Marxian version of socialism and communism. It has to be egalitarian society if it is Marxian version. Okay, there should not be any private property, there should not be even a private sector. Okay, so that's an entirely different concept. That is stateless, classless society. That's egalitarian society. Okay, so here we will see functional theory. Functional theories means functional approach. That is a perspective which try to justify everything which exists in society. So when we talk about crime, even crime also to an extent the functionalist will justify. Certain rates of crime is normal according to functionalist perspective. Otherwise what will happen is, see, this is basically to maintain the order. Otherwise, if crime is not there, then zero crime society means the society, the police system, the judicial system will not be functional, right? It may not, you cannot actually check the efficiency of these systems. And at one point of time, if something big is happening, now there will be a total social disorder or a turmoil or a chaos you can see in the society, and that is not desirable. Don't go to that extreme point. So it will be always better that certain rates of crime should be there in society, and it is normal in society, so that you can keep a check on the policing, judicial system, etc. Similarly, certain rates of suicide is normal. So everything is normal in a limit. That is according to functionalist. But when we say functional bias, if you remember when we discussed about objectivity and value neutrality, I have raised this point, the functional bias. For example, I am a functionalist. So I try to justify inequality. I will say inequality is certainly providing certain functions in society. If everybody is equal, society cannot function. Society, there will not be any social order. Okay, so if everybody is equal, it will be total chaos and total disorder will be there. Society cannot function. So I will try to tell the functions of inequality. But even the extreme forms of inequality, if you try to justify, that's when I call it as functional bias. That person, that theorist is having a functional bias. Even the extreme forms of crime you will try to justify. like rape of minors. Okay, so all these, if you try to justify, those are functional bias. So functionalism and functional bias, if it goes to an extreme, if it goes beyond a limit, then we can say functional bias. So if you try to follow that theoretical, if you are a functionalist, you always stick to that perspective. So for that, you will go to any limit means functional bias. If you are normally explaining everything in functional terms, it is fine. Like certain rate of crime is normal, but beyond that it is abnormal. When we talk about Durkheim, a renowned functionalist, he actually differentiates between normal and pathological situation. Then we cannot say it's a functional bias. He say certain rate of crime is normal, beyond that it is pathological. Certain rate of suicide is normal, beyond that it will create problems. So what I'm saying is, these are the perspectives which you can use to understand these concepts, and these perspectives are going to give you in-depth understanding of all these social phenomena, whether it is social inequality, stratification, poverty, deprivation, exclusion, hierarchy, all the social mobility, everything you will understand in a much better way. And when it comes to conflict perspective, you will tell the opposite, why inequality is dysfunctional in society, and why inequality, or how inequality is exploitative in society, how it is supporting one section over the other section. So all these things that is what your critical analysis. So basically, if you get a critical analysis question, you have to, even if you are not a sociologist, even if you don't know Marxian perspective, effectively you are using Marxian perspective only to critically analyze. So you will actually get a very good critical view once you're done with the Marxian perspective, and you will be able to see everything in a critical view also. So you will be able to see both dimensions. That's what the importance of Durkheim, the functionalist, and Marx, the conflict theorist. Okay, so you will see the pros and cons in a much better way than a general studies student. So that's the advantage that you're going to get from your sociology optional, and that in-depth understanding will help you a lot in your essay. Your perspectives will change, the way you write will change, even the content also will change. Normally the content that if you put some perspective into that, then it will be, it will stand apart. Same was the case with interview also. So I hope you understood. So this chapter is going to be very, very important from all sides, and we are starting the thinkers. Actually, you can see here you can see theories. So thinkers, although formally we start from the next chapter, like different thinkers we start, but here we are basically starting with the theories. Okay, so till now we have discussed about the static part in sociology, and theories are also static, but still there will be some kind of applications will come from here. Okay, first 3 chapters so easy, you get questions, 3-4 questions you get, whatever we have learned, whatever notes I have given. Beyond that, you don't want to read anything, just reproduce the same thing, you will get good marks, and all contents are there, all examples are there, all situations are there, everything is there. Beyond that, you don't even want to read anything more. Now here onwards, this is going to be very important. You need to apply your logic also in your answers. Okay, so you will see a lot of good things here. Now if you go for a quick overview of the syllabus, what we will do is we will start with the concepts. This is the concept: social mobility, social inequalities, social stratification, exclusions, poverty, deprivation, hierarchy. All these are known to you, and in fact all these are known to all the civil service students also. So if you have cleared prelims, for sure you might have heard about all these, and you might have some perception about all these. But after attending this session, your perception about all these will change. Your knowledge and your understanding and your the conceptual clarity will improve like anything, and your perspective towards each of these will change. So if you are against inequalities now, you may start supporting inequality at some point of time of this discussion. At least at that point of time of the discussion, when I try to convince you, you will definitely support that. But when we discuss about Marx, you again come back to that critical stand. Okay, so you are basically going to understand from both angles, and you don't want to be a functionalist or a conflict theorist. You can write from a neutral perspective. You can incorporate the arguments of both, and without being a functionalist or a critic, okay, you can, or a Marxist, you can write or you can put it in your own perspective. Okay, so what about the dimension? This means the dimensions of stratification. Stratification will be based on different dimensions like age, old, young, middle age, like that. Then income, like upper class, lower class, middle class. Ritual occupation, that means caste, Brahmin, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra. Race, ethnicity, okay, gender, All these are, different dimensions of stratification. We'll see this also. Theories. Okay, now theories of stratification, we will discuss all these theories. These are direct functional theory, conflict theory, and Weberian theory. Now what about social mobility? What do you mean by social mobility? Mobility of people, the possibility of movement from one strata to other. You born as a lower class person, you born as a son of a farmer, and can you become a rich person? If so, then that is what you mean by mobility. Or you born as a rich person, can you become a poor person? If so, that is mobility. One is upward mobility, you're moving to the top, one is downward mobility. So that's what we mean by types of mobility. We will discuss that. Avenues or sources means what are the ways in which you can get that mobility, like education, like marriage, different avenues are there. All these we will discuss in detail in the session. Okay, so that's about the overview of the session. Now let's look into the questions also. You can see here all these are direct questions. Social stratification and social inequalities, inequality and hierarchy, social exclusion, dimensions of social stratification, functional theories of stratification, conflict theories of stratification, Weberian theories of stratification. All these are actually direct questions only. Then explain functionalist theory of stratification. So here two are asked, both are asked, functionalist theories and Marxist theories, and how Marxists react to it. So you need to write both. Okay, because Marxist theories are actually opposite to them. So first you talk about this and then you talk about this. Even here also, if the question is about only functional theories of stratification, when you're writing, you obviously write functional theory, and towards the end you will raise the criticism by talking about Marxist. Without that, your answer is not complete. So it is not necessary that they need to ask Marx specifically here. You have to talk about Marx, then only the answer is complete. Even though the question is only about functionalist theories, without talking about the criticisms of that functionalist theory or the limitations or the Marxian understanding, that answer will not be complete. So this, even if this question is asked, you have to write similar to this question only. Here it is specifically asked, so you don't have any choice to skip. Earlier also you have a choice to skip, but you are missing marks. Okay, you are compromising over there. Now, if you see here social mobility and social stratification, we'll see the connection, and then sources of social mobility. Okay, so now before we move to this PDF, what I'll do is I'll explain what I'm going to discuss now. Okay, so the important contents of this PDF I'll discuss first. So what you need to do is take a piece of paper and take down those important points, and that should be there in your answer for sure. You cannot afford to miss those points. The paragraph you can align in any way, the sentence you can change, the words and everything you can change. You can use your own language, and I tell you, you can use your own language and write a better answer than what I am written here if you can incorporate the contents that I am telling you now. See, what this 5 minutes discussion that I'm going to take is more important than the PDF discussion that I'm going to do. So this contents I have put it in paragraphs is in the PDF, right? So you may be able to put it in a much better way than what I've done here. Okay, so just note down these points and just understand these concepts, and once you understood, you will not forget it. Even if you want to, you cannot forget it. Okay, because this is going to give you a entirely different idea than what you have till now thought of. Okay, so let's start with social stratification. Now, to understand stratification, first I'll talk about differences. Now, what do you mean by differences? When we talk about differences, there can be natural differences, there can be social differences. Now, what do you mean by natural difference? Like the sex, if you talk about, these are biological difference, these are natural difference. So when I'm talking about male and female, right, for sex, when I'm talking about male and female, there is a natural difference. So it can be natural, or it can be. Now, what do you mean by social difference? When I'm talking about rich, poor, or when I'm talking about, North India, South India, the dressing style, don't you think it's a social difference? It's a difference. Can we say it's inequality? No. As of now, can we say sex is inequality? No, it is just a biological difference. Can we say different lifestyles is inequality? Or lifestyle may be, but can we say different dress styles will make someone inferior and someone superior? No. Okay, so dress styles, that is social difference. The types of houses in North India, South India, it will be different, right? So these are social differences. The kind of dress that you wear, the kind of housing, the houses that you have, the culture, all these, you cannot say one culture is superior over the other. Okay, so these are social differences. Natural differences means like black and white. Okay, then male, female. All these are natural differences. So when I'm talking about differences are natural and social. Now, what happens is these differences. So difference is there. Now, with this difference, if you attach certain values, you know what is values. We have discussed this when we discussed about objectivity and value neutrality. What do you mean by value? Value is an idea which an individual carry in the mind, and based on which he will describe, or he will explain, or he will understand the desirability or undesirability of a particular situation, or superiority or inferiority, or preferability or rejection of anything. Okay, so value is an idea through which an individual evaluates the desirability, undesirability, superiority, inferiority, preferability, rejection, etc. So for example, if you carry a patriarchal set of value, male child is considered desirable, superior and preferred over a female child. And if it is a matriarchal society, a female child is considered superior and preferred, okay, and desirable. Okay, so I hope you understood. So value means it could be related to anything. It could be generated through family, religion. So many other aspects are involved over there. We have discussed this anyway. I'm not getting into that at this point of time. So difference, when you attach these values to the differences, what will happen? That will result into inequalities. So when you are attaching certain values, like female, male, they are normally equal. There is no inequality when I'm talking about male and female. Only biological difference is there. But with this biological difference, if you try to attach certain values, which among this is preferred? So if I'm saying male is preferred over female, then it results into inequality. Okay. Now what do you think about this concept, sex and gender? Both are same or different? See, when we talk of sex, it is a natural difference. When we talk of gender, it is socially created. So some kind of inequality is there in gender. So when you see the applications form and everything, what should be there? It should be sex, because they want to know the biological difference, not the social difference, or not that inequality. When we talk about inequality, some social element is there. When we talk about gender, some social element is there. Some kind of inequality is there. Okay, so it has to be sex. It should be sex in your, all these application form and everything. But see, however, you can see this gender also in most of the cases, but actually it should be sex. Okay, so these are the conceptual understanding that we need to develop in sociology. And as a sociologist, you should be very clear. Don't talk about others. GS answers, you don't want to be so particular. You can use both interchangeably, and we are using it, and even the scholars also using it. Okay, so but we cannot use that in sociology. Where we need to use sex, you need to use that. Where we need to use gender, we need to use that. You can't use it alternately. You cannot use it interchangeably. That is not accepted in sociology. But you can do that in GS, because a person who is evaluating the paper is also thinking the same way. No problem with that. Okay, so here what I'm saying is differences will result into inequality when some values are attached. Okay, so can I say the differences are either natural or social? Differences can be either natural or social, but inequality is always and always social. Yes, the differences could be natural or social, but inequality is always social. Why? The differences will become inequality when some values are attached to it. So it is always social. So inequality is always social. Now, so inequality is there. It could be at the individual level, it could be at the group level. So inequality is there. Now, a sociologist want to study about inequality. Do you think a sociologist can study about inequality, each and every instances of inequality? No. Between you and me, there may be different types of inequalities. But all these cannot be studied by a sociologist. And neither sociologists will never be interested in studying between us what is the inequality. But if you're a female and I'm a male, okay, then certain characteristics will be there. And then there will be a group, female group and male group. So he will be interested to study that. Basically, there can be some pattern as a female group and a male group, or upper class, lower class, or Brahmin, Kshatriya, etc. Right? So you can see some patterns here. So not individual inequalities, some patterns of inequalities. So sociologists, for the purpose of understanding inequality, try to understand the patterns of inequality. Why? That will be easy. Studying individual instances of inequality will be difficult and it is not desirable. So the sociologist will consider a pattern of inequality. So when I'm talking about upper class, middle class, lower class, you can see a pattern here. Upper class is having certain properties or characteristics. Lower class having also the same characteristics and properties, right? So more or less all of them will share the same characteristics. For example, when we talk of middle class, what is coming to our mind? Even though with less salary, they try to prefer the lifestyle of the upper class, okay, like that. So they want to have a luxurious life, and middle class is sharing certain properties or characteristics. So that's what I mean by pattern. For example, if you talk about Brahmin, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, so all these are showing certain character. All the Brahmins are showing some characteristics. Similarly, all the Kshatriyas. So I can pattern them, right? So I can see them in terms of a pattern. There is a clear-cut pattern exists between them. So what I am studying, or what I am interested in studying as a sociologist, I am interested in studying not each and every Brahmins, rather Brahmins as a section together, Brahmins as a pattern together I will study. That's what I mean by pattern. Okay, so inequalities, individual instances will be difficult to study, so patterns of inequalities are identified, and that's what you call as stratification. So that's what you call as stratification. Okay, so differences are there, normal, that is natural or social, but when attach some values, it will become inequality, and with inequality you cannot study each and every instances. So what the sociologist will do? Sociologists will try to identify the pattern of inequality. That's what you call a stratification. Just like if you're studying the earth, okay, in geography, when you're studying earth, you will see different layers of earth like core, mantle, etc. So the core is showing certain property, and everywhere that will be the same, and mantle also having certain property you might have already studied, exactly the same. That's what you mean by a pattern. Why you can differentiate like core, mantle, etc.? Because there is a pattern for core, there is a pattern for mantle, etc. Right? Exactly here, upper class is having some pattern, middle class having some pattern, lower class having some pattern. Okay, but different individuals you cannot study. It will be very difficult. One male and one female, if you take, you cannot study the inequality between them. Male together and female together, you can study the inequalities. That's what you mean by patterns, and that's exactly what you mean by stratification. Okay, so I hope you understood. Now, so what I'm basically telling you is inequalities result into stratification if it is patterned. So can I say all instances of stratification you can see some inequalities, or all stratification is based on some inequalities? Yes, all stratification is based on some inequalities, but not all inequalities are result into stratification, right? Not all inequalities are going to see a stratification, or not all inequalities are based on stratification. Why? Inequalities will become stratification if it is patterned, if it is seen at a macro level, if it is seen at the level of a society. Otherwise, if inequalities are seen at individual level, there may be differences between you and me, but that may not be a pattern. Then that cannot be studied by anyone, and that will not be a stratification. That is merely a difference or inequality. Okay, so not all inequalities can be understood as stratification. Pattern should be there, and it should be at macro level. But all stratification will be based on definitely some kind of inequalities. When stratification is there, it is nothing but inequality patterned, but not all inequalities are stratified. Okay, now for this there are certain steps. Stratification is a process in which there are certain steps are also there. Like first step is differentiation. Now what do you mean by differentiation? Differences and differentiation both are different. When we talk about differences, it's objective, okay, but differentiation means it's a process. So like what I've told you is related to sex. Female and male is there. This is a difference. But if you assign certain roles to female and male, as a male you do the difficult task because of masculinity and the power and all these things, and female you do better nurse job, teacher's job, etc. Okay, so that means what? It's a kind of differentiation. That's a process. So here this is the first stage. Here you will assign certain roles based on the differences. So this is the first step in that process of stratification. We are moving to discuss about stratification. So this is the first step. Okay, so assign roles based on the differences. And second step is actually between the individual, based on these roles there will be an informal ranking. So basically the second step is like ranking. So this ranking is done at the individual level. Between you and me, let's suppose some roles are assigned. I am doing this and you are doing this. And at the individual level, some ranking will happen. Some evaluation will happen at the individual level. Who's doing the better job, etc. So a kind of informal rank order will come. Okay, not recognized, it is vague, but informal rank order. Informal rank order. Now, what will happen in the next stage is, this difference and this assignment of role and this evaluation now will happen at the wider level. Now, for example, you are a female and I'm a male. We might have done something individually like evaluation, but that is not formal. Okay, that is something like vague. Okay, not recognized in the society. But the same thing will be done at the level of whole society, if related to all females and all males. Okay, so that's what I mean by cultural evaluation. There will be a cultural evaluation happen based on this roles performed. Okay, so the cultural evaluation, this means evaluation. So evaluation done at culture, that will result into what? Here it was informal rank order. Now the rank order will be formalized and institutionalized. So it will be formalized and institutionalized. And also formalized and institutionalized means it is accepted as the general rank order in society. That's formalized and institutionalized. And then it will also be transmitted from one generation to other, and it is transmitted. So there will be a cultural transmission. Like that's how Brahmin, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra. If you are born for Brahmin father, you will be a Brahmin. If you are born for an upper class person, you will be an upper class. Okay, so it will be transmitted. I hope you understood. So this is the 3 step, and 4th step is like rewarding. And this is the most important step, because through this only these inequalities are maintained. Rewarding means it's a kind of, whoever is coming in the top of the strata, they get certain rewards, privileges, etc. And others won't get this. So through this rewarding process, these inequalities are actually maintained. Okay, so I hope you understood. This is what I need to discuss about stratification. So this is what you need to know. Differences, that is natural or social, that will result into inequality when some values are attached to it. So differences are natural or social, but inequality is always social. So that's your first part. Then we have discussed from inequality to stratification. Not each and every inequality you can study. So you try to identify the patterns of inequality. This patterns of inequality is what you call as stratification. And that's we have done, right? And I've discussed about various steps in the process of the stratification. Starting from differentiation, I've told you what I mean by differences and differentiation. Okay, differentiation is a process. When you see this TION, isation, for example, secularism is an ideology. Secularization is a process. Fundamentalism, fundamentalization, or communalism, communalization. It's a process. When I'm seeing isation, it's a process. So differentiation, ranking, informal rank order at the individual level. Then the ranking or evaluation happens at the cultural level. Then it becomes formalized and institutionalized, and it will pass to one generation to other also. Then rewarding. So this is the 4th step that you need to remember. Now what I'll do is I'll discuss a PDF. So this is how exactly I do in my class also. This much time I spend for explanation. In between doubts will also be there. So instead of this 30 minutes, I would have taken 45 minutes. Then I'll start dictating what all things we have discussed, and then I'll explain further, so that things will be printed in the minds of the students. So here I cannot dictate, it's a waste of time. So I've taken the notes of one of my student, and I'm going to discuss with this. Okay, see, if you have any doubts related to any of the discussion, if you have missed out any videos, you can join here. This is my Telegram channel, Zia Safir, okay, or you can get in touch with me in this number 9790-892-697 or 98955-77775. So these two are my numbers. Telegram, WhatsApp, or in any social media. This is my Instagram ID, Zia Safir. You can get me over there, or this is my Facebook ID, Zia Safir. Here double E is there. Okay, here only one I is there, or Zia IAS. So these are the ways in which you can get in touch with me. You can write answers to me. If you want to attend the regular classes, or the live classes, or online classes are available, or regular classes are there here. Okay, live classes are there. You can write the test series with me. Okay, we will have a live interaction also after each test. Okay, so, and you will get better prepared for your exam. So we will move to the PDF now. Okay, same things that we have discussed, nothing more. Every society contains differences. Everything which is important I have underlined so that it will be easy for you. Every society contains differences on the basis of various attributes which characterize our social life. Okay, so every society is having certain differences. These attributes are either natural or socially created. Thus, the whole society is composed of people having natural or social differences. Yes, these differences are not only seen at the individual level, but at the level of groups also. Okay, so I hope you understood what is natural and what is social differences. In every society, some values are attached to some of these differences, like what we have discussed. The values like superiority, inferiority, preferability, rejection, desirability or undesirability are often attached to these differences. The attachment of these values result in social evaluation of these differences. Okay, so differences, values are attached to the differences that lead to social evaluation of the differences that creates inequality. Thus, the attachment of the values to these differences result in inequalities. Okay. Thus, the nature produce differences, but the man create inequalities. Rather, the differences are natural or social, but inequalities are always social. Social inequalities exist in every society, either at the level of individual or at the level of group. There are certain inequalities which are not felt at local level, but their presence is felt at the level of whole society. It means that the whole society tends to accept these inequalities as the standards of evaluation. It is virtually impossible for a sociologist to study each and every instance of individual or group inequality, right? So, thus for the purpose of analysis of a society, patterns of inequalities are identified which are present at the level of whole society, that means macro. These patterns of inequalities are termed as social stratification. So differences, values are attached to the differences, social evaluation will happen, then that result into social inequality. Patterns of social inequality will result into social stratification. Thus, all stratification is based on some forms of inequality, but not all inequalities are based on stratification because patterns should be there. Thus, every social stratification is based on inequalities, but not every instance of social inequalities can be understood as social stratification. Patterns of inequalities are required for stratification. In simple terms, social stratification can be defined as a system of social ranking in the form of stratas involving relations of superiority and inferiority. The term is borrowed from geology on the basis of identification of analogy between the inner layers of earth and abstract layers of people existing in society. It is a mental construct and an analytical tool to visualize the pattern of inequalities in the form of stratas. What do you mean by mental construct and analytical tool? That means these are not empirical realities. You cannot see what is stratification. You cannot see the stratas. These are mental constructs for understanding the society or inequality. Stratas are understood to be ranked, that is, a particular hierarchical order exists in these stratas. Further, apart from the understanding of inequality, social stratification also becomes basis for understanding the distribution of rewards, privileges, benefits in the society. Those who are at the upper strata, they start getting the rewards, privileges, benefits in the society more than who are in the lower. Like Brahmins get better advantage instead of rather than this Shudras or Dalits. Thus, the process of stratification can be understood in terms of 4 stages: differentiation, ranking, evaluation, and rewarding. So, differentiation, we have discussed this. It involves the presence of social or natural differences, obviously differences which are recognized in society. Like difference in terms of sex, race, income, etc. Right? Every society it is there. These differences are often assigned certain positions or roles. I've told you this point. On the basis of sex, roles are assigned to male and female, right? And this we will discuss in detail in one topic where we discuss about patriarchy and sexual division of labor. How patriarchy is influencing the division of labor in society on the basis of male and female. That's what you mean by sexual division of labor. A very important topic from sociology, paper 1 and paper 2, and also essay and interview. Okay. Next is ranking. The differences in terms of attributes or roles seldom remain objective, and gradually the comparison between these differences results in emergence of a very vague, informal and unrecognized rank order. This ranking essentially takes place at the individual level at the beginning, but later at the cultural level. That's what the next step, evaluation. The rank order is further strengthened and formalized through the process of evaluation done at the cultural level. Slowly, the individual comparison forms part of the value system of the whole culture. At this level, due to cultural evaluation, rank order becomes formalized and institutionalized. So here, rank order becomes formalized, institutionalized because cultural level evaluation is actually happening, and it will be transmitted from this generation to the next also. The evaluation is then transmitted from one generation to the other through cultural reproduction. This finally results in strengthening of rank order in terms of value system. Okay. Now rewarding. On the basis of differentiation, ranking and evaluation, hierarchical stratas are constructed. These stratifications are supported by perpetuative mechanism existing in societies. Apart from the cultural reproduction, a system of rewards and punishments, privileges. Punishment means these are not physical punishment I'm talking about. One group is rewarded, so automatically the other group is like punished, right? One section is getting the privilege means others will be like they are feeling disability. So rewards and punishment, privileges, disabilities, etc. are actually strengthening this rank order, and it is maintaining this inequality or stratification. If this is not there, then even the upper class also don't want to be upper class. Why they want to be upper class? Why they want to remain in upper class? Because of these rewards. So they try to maintain it. Okay, that we will discuss in detail when it comes to marks. How is it maintained and everything. Okay, elite circulation theory. A lot of theories are there. We will see that without any problem. This helps not only in continuity of strata but also in further strengthening the hierarchy. So I hope you understood. Again, let's discuss this. We have started off with differences, and differences, then you attach certain values to this. Then what will happen? Social evaluation will happen. This will result into inequality. So that's why I've told you that differences could be natural or social. It could be natural or social, but inequality is always social. That's why social inequality. Okay, and if it is patterned, then stratification. Okay, so this is what we have basically discussed. This is what you need to remember. Okay, so all stratification is based on inequality, but not all inequality is based on stratification, because essentially it need to be patterned. Then we have seen the steps. Steps are differentiation, ranking, evaluation, and rewarding. So just keep these four also in mind. Next session, we will talk about dimensions of social stratification. So if simply the question is asked on stratification, you have to write what all things that we have discussed now, and dimensions also you need to write. Otherwise, these dimensions can be asked as a separate question also. That in itself is actually a separate question that I'll discuss in the next session. Okay, so I hope this is clear. If you have any doubt, feel free to contact me. You can talk to me. You can message me related to the classes or related to the test or related to any doubts that we have seen here. Okay, so see you guys. Thank you. So that's about the session. I hope you understood everything that we have discussed today. If you have any doubt in any of the videos that we have discussed so far, you can get in touch with me here. That's my Instagram ID. Okay, or you can join the Telegram channel. You will get all my videos over there. Everything is there. Or you can see here, this is a Telegram channel, or this is the Instagram ID. These two are my Facebook page. You can get in touch with me in any of this. If you want to learn economy with me or history with me or general studies, any subjects, you can, if you need regular classes, you can get in touch with me, or the online classes are available with Study IQ. You will get all those classes. Still, you will get my YouTube videos in this Telegram channel. Okay. So I hope you understood everything that we have discussed. So see you guys. Thank you.